Hello everyone, this is CRH Films. Today, I'll tell you about the first episode of the 2023 series, The Last of Us. A desperate smuggler must transport a girl across a country teeming with zombies and marauders.
But if you're feeling lost...
You tell me to look for the light and I'll break your jaw.
1968, epidemiologists on a television show discuss the global extinction of humanity due to a pandemic. They talk about cordyceps, a type of fungus capable of controlling organisms. And the only thing saving humanity is a temperature of 34 degrees, above which the fungus dies. But global warming could force the parasite to evolve, bringing a new apocalypse closer. Since cordyceps is almost incurable, they transport us to 2003. The main character, Joel, wakes up his daughter, Sarah. It's his birthday today, but due to work problems, he has completely forgotten about it. Soon, Joel's brother, Tommy, comes to visit. Before heading to work with his brother, Joel decides to give his niece a ride to school, unaware that her education will soon become irrelevant. After classes, Sarah goes to the workshop to fix her father's old watch. From the shop window, she observes emergency service vehicles passing by. Meanwhile, the radio reports that the country is slowly descending into chaos due to an outbreak of an unknown disease. The shop owner hands over the repaired watch and hurriedly advises the girl to go home as quickly as possible. On her way home, Sarah visits the neighbors, an elderly couple who take care of a grandmother in the final stages of dementia. The elderly woman offers Sarah some freshly baked cookies, but she'll have to wait a bit. On one of the shelves, the girl finds her father's favorite movie. While Sarah was browsing the film collection, the grandmother began making eerie faces, but her efforts go unnoticed. Taking the movie disc and freshly baked cookies with her, the girl leaves. Glancing at the dog, Sarah notices how the four-legged friend of humanity looks intently at the grandmother. In the evening, the birthday boy returns home, having forgotten to buy a cake. His daughter gives him the repaired watch as a gift. Joel thanks her for the gift but also jokingly claims that the watch isn't working. Afterward, they watch the most memorable scenes from Joel's favorite action movie. Soon, Tommy calls, asking Joel to pick him up from the police station. He stood up for a waitress in one of the bars. After tucking his sleeping daughter into bed, Joel sets out to help his brother. The sound of helicopters, street commotion, and flashes of light from outside wake the girl up. Sarah turns on the television, where an emergency government message is broadcast, urging people to stay at home and remain calm. In the window, with a terrified expression, the neighbor's dog breaks in. Sarah decides to take the dog home, but it breaks free and runs away. Despite the warning, Sarah's curiosity gets the better of her, and she decides to check the neighbor's house since the door is open. Inside, Sarah encounters the still-living homeowner, while his wife lies a few meters away with no signs of life. An elderly woman, who couldn't open her mouth by herself earlier in the morning, is looming over the body. Noticing strange tendrils in the infected woman's mouth, the girl panics and rushes out of the house. At that moment, her father arrives and, with a skilled blow of a wrench, subdues the deranged woman. The trio gets into a car to leave the city as quickly as possible. On the way, Sarah looks at all this apocalypse with a frightened face and tears in her eyes. Upon reaching the highway, they notice hundreds of similar infected individuals. Tommy decides to take a shortcut through a field, but they didn't anticipate an army convoy a few kilometers away. The brothers decide to return to the city, where chaos and destruction have already taken hold. They witness a plane crashing directly into the city. A piece thrown by the explosion flies into the car, causing it to flip over. Sarah regains consciousness a few minutes later. Joel pulls his daughter out of the car and sees that her leg is broken. Burning cars block the alley, and Tommy is on the other side. The brothers agree to meet by the river. Joel carries his daughter and sets off on the journey. However, around the corner, they encounter a dozen zombies devouring human bodies. One of them spots Joel and his daughter and lunges at them. However, the locomotor system of the zombies prevents them from catching their prey. In the street, the zombies are almost catching up, but a precise shot from a soldier nullifies cordyceps' repeated attempts to subdue another organism. The soldier orders them to stay put. Joel assures him that they are perfectly healthy. However, the soldier still contacts command and points his gun at the father and daughter. They're pleased to let them go unanswered. After the first shots, Joel and his daughter fall down the slope. The soldier approaches Joel again, and the sound of a gunshot rings out. But this time, it's Tommy, who arrived just in time to help. Joel realizes that the bullet passed through him, which calms him down. But in reality, it was Sarah who took the brunt of the impact. Joel tries to save his daughter, but the injury is too serious. A few minutes later, Sarah dies in her father's arms. We fast forward 20 years. 2023, a little girl walks through the ruined city of Boston, surrounded by nature and time's decay. She reaches a concrete-walled quarantine zone. Guards notice the exhausted girl and take her inside. Securely tied to a chair, she undergoes an examination. While one officer tries to engage in conversation, another conducts an analysis. Afterward, he administers an injection, claiming it's a vaccine. Meanwhile, residents of the quarantine zone are burning the bodies of the infected. Another truck arrives carrying bodies, and among them is the same girl. Joel, as before, without any remorse, throws the body into the fire. After work, he goes to collect his salary, which is now in the form of food vouchers. He also inquires about any available jobs, preferably those with higher pay. The zombie apocalypse has drastically changed the world's structure. There's a curfew, goods are exchanged for vouchers, and breaking quarantine rules is punishable by death. During another execution, one of the soldiers calls Joel Fedra, the Federal Disaster Response Agency, a government agency that survived the apocalypse and now plays an administrative role. Joel sells him contraband pills and asks for a working car battery. The soldier warns that it's not advisable to leave the zone in the coming days as agents will be conducting raids on the terrorist group Cicadas. Meanwhile, Joel's partner, Tess, who was beaten by another smuggler's partners, suggests forgetting this incident. It turns out the smuggler sold the promised battery to someone else and spent the money Tess paid for it. The traders are not against parting ways peacefully, but they are wary of Joel, who is determined to seek revenge for his friend. An explosion interrupts their discussion, blowing up a wall and sending the men to their maker. Miraculously, Tess survives, rushes onto the street, and witnesses a shootout between Fedra soldiers and Cicadas fighters. The agency soldiers immediately arrest the woman. The girl sits in an empty room, chained to a radiator. A woman enters and asks if she can state her name and count to 10. This is how they check for infection because in infected individuals, only the ability to name things remains from cognitive activity. The girl enthusiastically passes the test but still remains in restraints. Joel visits the liaison to find out if there's any news from Tommy. His younger brother has not been in contact for 3 weeks. Joel wants to embark on a search for his brother, but he needs a battery for the journey. Returning home, Joel retrieves equipment and a map from a hiding place to plan the route to his brother's likely location. At night, Tess returns. In the morning, she tells Joel that Robert sold their battery to someone else. Joel wants to find and punish the man as quickly as possible, but Tess persuades him to handle it quietly. Meanwhile, the leader of the Cicadas, Marlene, announces that she has received an encrypted message. Today, they will all leave Boston and head to the capital, where one of the Cicadas' bases is located. The rebels are resisting the military tyranny of the Fedra. She then goes to visit a girl whom the Cicadas have big plans for. Marlene has known her since childhood. The girl's name is Ellie. During their conversation, we learn that Ellie used to attend the agency's military school. Marlene herself placed her there to ensure constant supervision. Marlene reveals that Ellie will have to go with them because she has an important role to play. Meanwhile, Tess manages to find out who exactly bought their battery from Joel and plans to meet them. They head through an underground tunnel. Inside the building in front of them, a fungus has grown almost covering the entire wall, originating from the deceased smuggler's body. Going upstairs through one of the doors, they find the battery and the bodies of the smugglers. However, the battery has become unusable. At the end of the corridor, Joel notices Marlene and her assistant. Joel slowly approaches when the doors suddenly swing open, and Ellie, holding a knife, rushes at him. Another shootout is about to start, but Marlene recognizes Joel. She offers him a deal: deliver the girl to the capital, and in return, they'll provide a working battery and plenty of supplies. Ellie is not thrilled with this arrangement, but they have no other choice. Marlene is injured, and most of her people have been killed. After consulting with Tess, Joel agrees. The trio returns home, and the smugglers decide to start their journey at night. While Tess goes to replenish supplies for this deadly mission, Joel stays home to watch over the teenager. However, the desire to sleep eventually overcomes him. Evening falls, and the streets are illuminated only by the searchlights and soldiers, who are eager to shoot curfew violators. Through the underground tunnel, the smugglers almost manage to leave the quarantine zone unnoticed. However, they encounter a Fedra soldier. An attempt to pass by unnoticed fails. But this soldier is the same client of Joel's. He does not succumb to the smugglers' pleas to let them go. This time, he decides to follow the protocol. First, he checks whether future zombies are standing in front of him. When it's Ellie's turn, she stabs the soldier's leg with a knife but does not cause significant damage. The soldier points his weapon at Ellie. Joel experiences a flashback to his daughter's death in a similar situation and rushes at the soldier, rendering him unfit for combat. In the process, Tess lifts a scanner with a red indicator. Ellie is infected, but she shows bite marks and claims that it's been 3 weeks since she was bitten. The usual process takes no more than 24 hours. With no time to investigate further, the smugglers continue on their way. Now the trio is in an area ruled by zombies who won't distinguish between friend and foe. The first episode ends.